Welcome back to the Predictable Revenue Podcast. I'm your host, Colin Stewart, and today I'm joined by Patrick Zelaya. He's the founder and CEO over at HeavyConnect. We're going to talk about product market fit. Before we jump in, this episode is brought to you by our founder coaching program. Founders, let's be real, scaling a company is tough. You're juggling product, revenue, hiring, and a million other decisions. But what if you had a proven framework and expert guidance to help you navigate the chaos? That's where founder coaching program comes in. Whether you're trying to find your first customers or fine tune your go to market, we're here to help you build a business that scales, well, predictably. Welcome to the Predictable Revenue Podcast, where sales leaders teach you what's working for them so you can build it yourself. Now to the episode. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start with where the idea came from and maybe the genesis of the name, because we were talking a little bit before, the where you are is not necessarily representative of what the name suggests.
When the idea came about 2014, 2015, there was a lot of regulation and requirements around compliance for these food producers, especially around food safety, which HeavyConnect is probably most known for. But there weren't a lot of simple tools. And so everybody defaulted to using paper and would result in a lot of errors and confusion and increased risk. And we learned that all of that paper was for compliance. You have to show what you're doing in the field through documentation. And I thought if you could take a mobile app that was very simple, make it simpler and faster than paper, you'd be onto something. You'd have something that could actually replace paper. There'd been technologies in the field for decades, but they just really were meant more for an office worker than the field worker. Coming from Deere & Company, my thought was we're gonna help people understand the status of their equipment. So fuel logs, equipment checks to make sure that there weren't any leaks or the lights were working and so forth. And if there was, the earlier you can address those problems, the lower the cost is. And so we wanted to connect the equipment, but also I saw potential and didn't really want to close the door to other industries if we were successful in agriculture. And so instead of having some name around farming or ag or food, we wanted to focus in on heavy equipment. And so HeavyConnect was the original idea for equipment inspections and logs. And that is, it started there and evolved. We thought about changing the name a few times, but by that time, the industry knew us as HeavyConnect, so we just stuck with it.
And so you had this insight from working maybe not necessarily working in the fields, but being out in the fields and seeing the equipment and seeing the workers and seeing all the paper with mud on it. What was your process for going from, okay, I've got this idea to, making the decision to do something about it?
So I started working with a team from Cal State Monterey Bay, as well as Hartnell College inside of Salinas. They have some great computer science programs. And we did a hackathon that was put on by Techstars called the Startup Challenge. And we built kind of an early prototype of the business. So when we came to the industry, we said, all we're going to do is build the app. You tell us what it needs to do. And from there, it just kind of grew from there of like, what is HeavyConnect going to do? It's time and attendance for your harvesting employees so that you don't get hit with a lawsuit. The Department of Labor doesn't come knocking. That you document everything that you're doing right. Don't change what you're doing. Keep doing it, but document it more easily. And so we started building in all this functionality. And our North Star was, let's build this for the farm worker. Let's make it easier and faster than paper. And let's help them demonstrate their expertise and knowledge about their work in a way that translates to the office, that translates to large data analytics for optimizing operational efficiency, things that really matter to the C-suite, but they don't have that kind of visibility to it.
I'm curious, how do you go from university hackathon to selling to two of arguably the biggest food producers in America? It seems like we may have skipped a step, so I'd love to zoom in on that piece. Or are you just that good?
No, it's actually attributed to the Salinas Valley because there was some natural local interest. And we actually went up to Silicon Valley and we tried to get into Y Combinator, 500 startups. And 500 said, if you guys can go and get letters of intent from some of these companies that you're talking about, we'll consider you for our next cohort. And so we did. And then they said, well, can you get prepaid agreements? And I thought, well, if I could do that, what do I need you for?
Right.
Uh, and but it was a great idea. So I went to a friend of mine, Norm Groot, at the Monterey County Farm Bureau, and presented to their board. And I said, look, here's what we want to do. We know that paper is a problem. If you help us, if you partner with us by funding this, we will build whatever you say you need, with the caveat that we can sell it to anyone after this. It becomes not yours, it's not custom software, but it helps
Mhm.
start this business. And the benefit is you're getting exactly the kind of software that you want without the cost. That's when people really started signing up for it. We signed up about 15 farmers, large companies, and
Mhm.
they said, well, what is this going to cost? And standing there at the Farm Bureau in front of them, I said, $500 a month, prepay for 12 months. So give me a check for 6,000. I got 15 of those, and that funded our development for the next 2 years. And then eventually we got a call from 500 asking us if we'd like to join their cohort in 2016. So things really started picking up, and it was because the brands were so recognizable, and it was more of a, well, if these folks say they need it, then it must be important for the industry, and
Mhm.
and it took off from there.
Very cool. And so Driscoll and Dole, did they come from that? Like, were there farmers among the first 15, or how did you get them into the fold?
They had seats on the board at the Farm Bureau, so they were in that meeting, and
Hmm.
uh, and the next week they called me into their offices and they said, what do you need to get going? And I said, well, I mean, really, I know you're good for the money. I just need to know what you want me to do. And so they connected me to the farming managers, and they brought out their food safety compliance manual, and it was this 4-inch thick binder that they
Hmm.
couldn't use the 3 rings on it anymore. And they said, this is what we have to maintain continuously for compliance. And we dove in and started replicating that. I think early on, it was a very simple, like Fisher Price version of Google Forms. And with that, we were able to build a more complex, complete mobile platform.
I think the phrase I've heard you say a couple of times that I think was probably pretty key is, I'm here, tell me what you need. I think one of the mistakes I made early in my career was saying, I'm smart. This is what I've built. Look at, isn't this great? And everybody went, but nobody actually handed over any money.
Well, in agriculture, I've seen this across the country, is you really have to come on the scene hat in hand and ready to learn, because every environment is different, and you will find some patterns,
Mhm.
but there's way more to learn and challenge your assumptions, when you really dig in.
So first customers came from the Chamber of Commerce or the Farm Bureau. Is it just you land these once and then this is, you quickly expand, or, what did that look like?
We thought that was the case because there's thousands of suppliers that make up this brand. We Each time we had a meeting, even when it was a referral, it was a brand new discussion. They didn't know us. We had to start over. And I think actually Cisco's a good example, that they're such an enormous global company that really getting the reach of our product throughout their enterprise is is a continuous effort. And through no fault of anyone, it doesn't, the doors don't fly open. You really have to push them, and it
Hmm.
takes time to do that.
Interesting. So the first customers came from this initial group in the valley there. Um, where did the your first kind of repeatable customers start coming through?
Yeah. So when they signed up, we started to get other large brands as well. And everything was word of mouth because we didn't really have a marketing budget. Everything was going to engineering. We had a lot of growing pains there because once you started saying you're a paperless compliance platform for the food supply chain, there's so many parts to it. When you come to compliance, and so we're building and building as quickly as we can as that customer base diversifies, even though they're super interconnected. And so when you look at the platform today, and see all the different things that HeavyConnect can do, and people say, like, this just seems like such a mixed bag. What brings it together? And what brings it together is the user, is the person in the field, or the front line in the office, your payroll team. They need the fuel logs. They need the pesticide scouting checklists. They need the quality data to make sure that their buyers know what great quality is coming out of the field, and in what amount. So all that data is needed, and that's kind of where the growing pains came from. So we had to build really fast.
Um, Talk to me about some of the things that you said no to.
So it's funny because at first the requirements do become very simple, and you're replacing Excel spreadsheets or Google Docs, and so it's not hard to say, like, hey, we have that. Once people started to understand that the mobile app could do so much and that they didn't need to think, well, it's technology, it's going to be hard. Once they started opening up, they just kind of became these innovation futurists, where they're like, well, can it, you know, can it run robots for us, and can it pull data from field sensors? And that's when we had to start saying no, and realize not just the functionality in terms of managing our roadmap, but things like geofencing. People would say, I don't want people to be able to clock in if they're in the wrong field. I don't want them to do a food safety report for the wrong crop. And so when we tested it, we found that there were cultural barriers to a lot of this innovation, where if you started to try to use technology to train the behaviors of your employees, they would reject it. And they'd say the app doesn't work. Well, actually, you were in the wrong place when you were trying to use it. So the app did work, and it prevented you from using it. And so we started to realize some of these barriers that we needed to say no to. So we'd say, if you can do it on paper, the app will let you do it. The difference is we're going to bring this to your attention on the dashboard, how things are done incorrectly. And then for the company, it's a training opportunity to train the field folks on what they don't know. Also, biometrics was a big one. We early on, there was some really innovative vineyard companies that wanted retinal scanning. And then we started to see how people reacted to the retinal scan and not wanting their eyeball scan. They thought it was unsafe for their vision, and really helped us understand that we're addressing two needs: the needs of the folks who are signing the checks and renewing the subscription, and the folks who are using the product in the field. And they're not the same with any of our customers.
I think a really important piece that you just kind of mentioned there that I wanted to highlight is that software is a piece that enables people that are already trained on the right process. What you built just enables what exists already, as opposed to saying, I'm coming in with this ideology, you must follow the app. The app is the way.
Yeah, it is going to make your workday easier. You're going to have less risk of compliance mistakes and lawsuits. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to make that part easier, but it's not going to overnight make your employees better employees. That's going to be a little bit more work, and we can help with that, giving you more visibility to what's going on in the field. But please don't try to employ the technology to be your disciplinary.
I'd love to zoom in on the moment where you realized, hey, we might have some product market fit here.
It actually was told to us. We, when we worked so closely with the users and spent so much time in the field, we had to turn away from our peers and what else was going on in the ag tech scene. In 2018, we went through the Techstars Farm to Fork program, but we started to realize that when we would talk to the different mentors, that they were really keying in on the traction that we had, and we could see kind of the surprised look that these investors had. And we would have to ask them like, what is surprising here? And they said, well, you guys are pretty far along. Like you guys have a platform, you're in market. It seems like your customers are happy. And so we started to learn from kind of looking up and around how things are going, that we are, I don't want to use the word successful, but we're on the right path.
Hmm. And so it was the investors in that were saying, "Hey, you've got product market fit," and that was the.
Yeah. And so we keep
Mhm.
building. But I will say, like, one thing that I've noticed, so we don't have any salespeople we don't do any marketing. So I
Mhm.
often have to explain, everything is 100% referral for us. I have to explain, what HeavyConnect is. Um, but also in those discussions, there'd be at least 10 to 15 requests for, can you do this? Can you do that?
Mhm.
And right around 2018, 2019, and the platform started not only to have product market fit, I started to realize, though, that in these discussions, the answers to, can you do this? Can you do that? They all started to become yeses. And when that
Mhm.
happened, uh, those discussions became less stressful, and it was more just a getting to know you. And in that moment for me, I felt, okay, this is product market fit. The answer, they can start describing their problem, and I'm trying
Mhm.
to like not be too obvious of the smiling that's going on. Like I'm
Yeah,
say yes, like,
I
and
got you.
yeah. So I think it was probably that, but then also you see how we've been able to continuously grow, and the stress has come down over time.
Imagine not having sales or marketing folks might have a part of that reduction in stress because smaller team, it's all you, and having all of your customers come from referrals sounds like a great place to be. I'm curious what comes next.
Yeah. So the geographic trajectory has really driven us, and getting the phone calls. And so
Hmm.
we stay true to that documentation piece, and find that there's no shortage of opportunity as we continue to grow globally. We now have companies like Hortifruit based down in Chile, who started off using HeavyConnect through their association with Nature Ripe, another one of our customers. And they started using it in Europe and Middle East, and it never touched American shores until recently. Hortifruit USA is using HeavyConnect, and so we see that continual expansion. And as we keep translating the app into Thai and Mandarin, and it just keeps growing geographically. We see that we kind of want to stay there. The one thing that I think is a big opportunity now is we should be getting the word out more than we are. I'd say we're almost doing ourselves a disservice today by not letting people know what HeavyConnect is.
It's funny. I think the slow approach of like letting referrals be the number one source for a while you figure things out, while you develop and get something that is you're getting referrals, you're getting happy customers, you're getting the longevity, I think is an amazing approach. Not to say eventually, you know, sales and marketing folks won't help, but listening to the story here, you have just kind of breezed by where a lot of people struggle and a lot of the pitfalls where people go and sink a bunch of time and add a lot of risk to their companies. So congrats, man. It's been I really enjoyed getting a chance to learn more about you and HeavyConnect. If people are curious about the platform, they want to reach out to you for advice if they're, trying to get something going in the ag space, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Patrick at heavyconnect.com, or just go to heavyconnect.com.
Is that with a K? Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Patrick.